Testing, testing. Yeah. Looks like we've got contact. Happy Friday, because it's Friday, and because it actually is Friday. I don't care what your time zone is. Here it's Friday. Though I was reading a thing the other day that apparently some scientists believe that the source for dark matter is intrusions of a mirror reality that is engaged with ours, and enough of the materials come through that it is what we're seeing is anti-neutrinos. But they also theorize that this mirrorverse is actually going opposite direction of time with us. I don't understand any of it, but that's what they said. But I loved the idea of anti-neutrinos. I thought that was pretty cool. So they have gravitational, but they don't do anything else. I don't know what I'm babbling about. Anyway, it's Friday. Just working. Got pretty much the last of the old jobs. All the old jobs are done. Now there's I have a few housekeeping things to do. Started working on the new jobs, as you guys know. I don't know. It's been tough. I have to say, it's actually been kind of a tough spring for me. They were doing some massaging of some of my meds, and some days things are really tough. And you really question. I was like, hey man, is it really worth it being on all these meds if this is how things are going? But I'm happy to say things seem to be evening out, and which is good news. I don't know, everything seems to be fine. Spring's coming. Might actually rain. Oh well, who knows? I was going to say something else, but I have notes. Saulbrook said, a haircut you could set your watch by. I'm stealing that. Well, you're welcome to, Saul. I stole it from, what is the guy's name? He was one person. He wrote most of the early Simpsons episodes, up to season 9 or something. There were whole seasons where he wrote everything. But in any case, it was the thing was Grandpa Simpson. It was with Homer's mother when she was still with Homer's father, and they were watching the '69 Super Bowl, and so his mother was freaking out about seeing Joe Namath's beautiful long hair, and then Grandpa Simpson, of course, they put up Johnny Unitas on the screen. He said, "Now there's a haircut. That's a haircut you can set your top watch to." So that's what it's from. So feel free to steal it, because I certainly did. Oh, well, you know what? Let's do mail call. Why not? Because I've finally changed up from wearing the twin to Stephen Moore's 6105. This is this one. I don't know if y'all remember, but I think a lot of people would probably be bored of seeing it, because I've literally been wearing this for 2 weeks. So let's go look at what I got. We got some wrist check action. I have been wearing this for weeks. When I built Stephen Moore's Super 6105, I built mine alongside him. So this is actually sort of the sister watch to his. Look at that insert. Isn't that nutty? So this is also a Super 6105. Like his, it's got a 6319 under the hood. That's a 21 version of the 6309 17 jewel. It's the same as a 6306. It just doesn't have a hacking lever. That's really the difference. And so this more or less has a 6306 in it now. But all the rest, like the dial and the hand metal, that's all original. It's got new loom, and it glows at night, which is nice. I'm not sure about this bracelet. I decided to try this this sort of cool aftermarket bracelet with this slidey thing. I haven't quite figured out. I don't mind it. I think the thing that bugs me is that it's got the end links that come with these. Man, I could just never get these stupid things to sit down, because they don't have anything. Darn it. They don't have anything that grips, that holds the end link to the spring bar. And so it can just flop around. It's like the only thing that's holding it to the case is the link, next link down, pushing up on it, that can't be right. That can't be right. So if somebody knows, please let me know. It's really bugging me. If you know how to deal with these end links, I've never really, they just bug me. And when I get them to stay put, I don't know why. Yeah, isn't that cool? I did reloom the pip on this insert because the loom was just black and it made the rest of the thing look terrible. So that makes it look a little cleaner and stand out. Yeah, that's cool. But I've been wearing this for 2 weeks and it's just, I can't stand the sameness. So I wanted to wear something that was as far away from being this as possible. So I put on my Speedmaster. I haven't really worn this a whole lot, really. I bought this for a good price. Came to me from Canada years and years and years and years ago. Badly needed service, but I got it with everything. And I got it for a good price, and I serviced it, and I wear it. I really am trying to wear different things and, you know, rejigger some watch excitement in my life. Used to get like really amazing, cool, super new, awesome watches like, you know, from, you know, Ryan Walters, and others, but I have really been holding off on new purchases. So I think I have to sort of make my own new purchases. And that's why I'm wearing watches we already have. I mean, it really is a beautiful watch. I love the high crystals on these. You know, and I used to complain about these, the stock bracelet, and people are now using more old style ones, more president-y ones. But this, I put this on its stock bracelet, and you know what? I like it. I'm happy with it, so I'm gonna keep it. And that's the way it's gonna be. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, it just takes maybe some separation. You know, absence makes the heart grow fonder and all that. But I'm really enjoying wearing it. It's just nice to see something different on my wrist. I've always wanted to be one of those people who has a watch or 3 watches or something. I've always had that ambition, but it doesn't work with my brain. It just doesn't. I gotta change things up. I get real bored, and then it starts getting to the point where if I see the same thing I've been seeing over and over and over again, I can start to feel kind of sick. It's really weird. So I've got to change what I'm doing. So I think I not only need to start wearing more of my watches, more of my ones that I got over here, I think that I need to actually start bringing in models that I've never really worn before, or maybe I should start, because I've started going through and doing organization again, like actual organization. So I went through all my watches this last week, all my parts watches, and I was looking at them like, it's been a long spring. It's been tough. It's been tough for me. And I kind of feel like my parts of my memory just aren't working right. But anyway, looking in there, I'm like, I don't remember any of these watches. And checking them out and looking at them, and there's a lot of fun stuff in there. I just have to make the time to do it. But I've got so many neat watches. I think I just need something new. Okay. First question. Here we go. That's a great name. Lawson Marr. The only other Marr I know is Johnny Marr. Well, I don't know him. I know of him. Johnny Marr, he was the guitarist for the Smiths. Guy's a genius. Lawson Marr. Well, that's a nice name. Hey, Spencer, I hope all is well. I'm glad to be here. I'm sure you've answered this in a past mail call. You never know. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know if I've answered anything past mail call because nothing's archived and I don't have any index for anything, for content or anything, nothing. Who knows? I might have answered this question 20 times or never. I'm sure you've answered this in a past mail call, but how have you seen your taste in watches change over the years, and how do you see it panning out in the years to come? That's a very interesting question. You'd think I'd have an answer. I don't know. The thing is, not only do I have like this ridiculous ADHD thing going on, but I'm also oddly obsessive about things. I mean, I've been working exclusively on and with and thinking about watches for decades. Isn't that strange? I mean, I've had other hobbies, but I don't know. I think I need to do something maybe a little bit new. I don't know. I think I need to get out there because of all the issues that I've been having in this past spring. I haven't been really online at all. I haven't been doing much of anything, so I really actually kind of don't know what's going on in the world. Next question. Pancho Skywalker. Well, actually, it's Pancho Skywalker. Okay, cool. Is it a good idea to reloom a genuine dial and hands on a Pogue, or does it kill the originality? Almost everything with vintage Seiko, especially vintage watches generally, it's about cosmetic condition. And if you have cosmetics, if you have the cosmetics, then you're going to have correspondingly higher value. Loom is a real big deal. The only way that Loom has to be seriously damaged. Like, seriously, I can't bring this back from the dead damaged for me to ever recommend a Re-Loom. And even then, I'm super hesitant, unless the loom is like, falling off, which I've seen. You have loom just disintegrating and it's just black and falling off, and that needs to go. But if you have good loom, if you have great white loom, of course you're never going to touch it. If you have good loom, decent vintage loom, you don't want to touch that. Because vintage Seiko loom is like, man, if you re-loom something, and there were other options, but it's going to drop the value like a lot. I used to tell people that the best re-loom is still going to kill values by 50%. That's what I used to say. I don't know that that's still true. I think that there's kind of a different world of watches coming up. It feels to me like there's like newer generations of people coming up. It feels like there's like new interest in new blood. I was worried that it was going to be kind of like a, I don't know, fashion thing 10 years ago, that people were going to kind of move on from watches, but people really enjoy them and they're still doing it. And so that's awfully good news. So the thinking may be different now. It's hard to really say. If thinking has changed, I don't think it has. If the loom is really damaged, swap it out. If it's not, threatening the watch and you're okay with the look of it and it's darkened a bit, like that 62 MAS I was looking at yesterday, these days, don't touch it. In the old days, you would have reloomed that instantly. And then that means these days, a watch that would be in that quality of that 62 MAS, today, if you got that watch, and it had been reloomed, that would just be heartbreaking. That would just really be heartbreaking. Though, I do actually have a new line of inert looming material that I have been exploring that replicates the look of early Seiko loom, especially that early Daini loom with the big grains. And I'm getting pretty close. I'm coming up with some pretty kick-ass stuff in terms of replication for flat fill, for correct profiles. If I could get the glow right, it would work. Okay, let's see. Okay, so next question. Chrono Craze. Okay, so he is talking about this baby that I wore and wore and wore and wore. You see, it's got this heavily worn bezel insert, but it's unique. You don't often see this with like chips of it off and this kind of thing. It's pretty worn, but I cleaned it up and tried to make it so that the wear was as much of a plus as I could make it. And it's not bad if you look at it closely. I mean, a lot of the metallic nature of it is still there. Having a white pip is better, but this watch is reloomed, to speak of relooming. And this dial has been with me, dial and handset, they were reloomed together. I didn't do it, I don't know who did. And so, that's a real pump to the value of this watch. But the nice thing is, from my perspective, it means I don't have to baby it, right? It's a good case, fully running, it's accurate. The loom, it looks good in the day, and it glows nicely at night. I can read it. This is a completely functional watch. So that's one nice thing, because man, if you've got original loom on your 6105, that scares the bejesus out of me, because all it takes is one good hot day and slightly heightened. How you doing? Did you guys have something over on the fence? Okay, I'll tell. I'll have him do it. And just hang on. What's that?
It's our soccer ball.
Oh, okay. Don't worry about it. I'll grab it. Just hang on, okay? I was the neighbor kid. Behind us, they have a bunch of boys, and they're all bouncy, and their balls end up over the fence. That sounds worse than it actually is, but you all know what I meant. I left my questions over there. Hang on. Okay. Okay, so we are back to talking about this 6105. Chrono Craze. This may not be of much help. Oh, because when I was building this thing, I was working with Stephen Moore, and I was presenting him with options about, how are we going to build your custom Super 6105? And so then I was done with that, and I started thinking about my own. I'm like, I don't know which way to go. So here's what Chrono Craze said. This may not be of much help, but I believe in tasteful restoration. Proceed with however you interpret this towards the 6105. Thanking you in advance for saying this. You always seem to know what to do to bring new life to vintage watches. Thank you. Question. The big thing about 6105s, the big thing for me, when I don't really build this kind of project anymore, obviously, because they're so collectible and people really want them. And, well, frankly, I just don't have that many. I don't have that much of these spare parts left anymore to just randomly build watches. I could do other models, but I'm really a stock guy. So the key thing for me is I always want to have any watch that I build or restore or replace major cosmetic parts. I want it to look consistent. I want it to look that one could say that's an original watch. That's not. It's not an incorrect. You want to look at the thing and not have the first thing pop in your head. Oh, somebody put that together from parts. You want it to look like a pretty decent watch. This is worn, but I do love it. Yeah, I don't do that very much. Okay, next. This is still from Chrono Craze. Question about manual wind movements. Question about manual wind movements. You know how when... Hang on. Okay, Chrono Craze. We're doing this again. Question about manual wind movements. You know how when you wind them, there's like a spring back feel to the crown? As you are winding to top off the power reserve, should you let the crown spring back freely? Or would it be better to keep a secure hold on the crown and let it gently spring back as you let thumb and finger roll back as you set up for the next wind? I hope you understand what I'm trying to describe. Oh, sure. Absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about. Maybe an unfounded concern, but I feel if the crown is allowed to spring back freely, I fear that quick spring back and abrupt stop may put unnecessary stress and or wear to the main winding gear as it appears to hit this little mechanism that stops the wheel from slipping and keeps the mainspring from unwinding, I assume. Yes, no, you're correct. It's called you have the click, which is the thing that in the watches that use those things, clicks. Almost all watches have a click. Some of them are designed to be less critical than others, but everybody has. Everything has it. I mostly see what you're talking about here on watches that are not automatic, that are only manual wind, not manual wind and automatic, like a 6138. I mean, I have, for example, Well, you know what? Let's break in. Let's talk about. Let me pull out some manual winds and we'll look at them. On the subject of hand winding, okay, what we got us here is a 6602. It's unrestored, completely original, but it was close to hand. And I figured this is as good a watch as any in which to demonstrate the joys of click springs and hand winding. Oh God, the thing's over there. Wow. Oh yeah, because look at that. Somebody rotated it to the wrong place. These ones are supposed to have the cutout over here opposite the thingy. So I gotta try to open this without killing anything. Hang on just a second. I'm gonna do my best here, but I kind of have terrible light. Anyway, here we are. By the way, I was looking at this thing. Isn't it neat? It's missing its sweep hand, but look at the look at that handset. That's a cool early handset with a green tiny loom. Anyway, hand winding. So we see here when you turn the crown. Hang on a second. Cracker's trying to get in the window. So what happens is you, gosh darn it, turn the crown. Damn it! Hang on, I had to get finger caught. Couldn't stand it. Okay, let's see. Anyway, so here we go. Hey, look at that, it's running. Beautiful movements. 6612. This is I'm sorry, 6602. Yes. Anyway, so the way that it works is you have. This is the way that Seiko does these sort of clicks. So you can go forward and then it's going to slip back until it catches. I don't know. Well, there you go. It looks like I just let it release. If I was going to be anal, I'd go like this and then carefully do that. I don't think that's necessary. But I do know people who do something that I don't do, which is that they just rotate the crown like that. They just ratchet it. I mean, I don't think it hurts the watch, but it means you're putting wear on the, a couple different things there. Look at it go. Look at that watcher running. Anyway, that's cool. Okay, so here's our next question, but it's not actually, this isn't a question, it's sort of a follow-up, and it's observations. So this is Connor Whitworth talking about reissues versus the originals and how Seiko tends to kind of mess and fool things around. Okay, thanks for the response. More gripes. The juicy fat 12, 6, and 9 markers indices found on the original 6159 and Marine Master 300 have been sacrificed on the newer SPB interpretations in favor of thinner, sleeker markers. Another signature Seiko dial detail they chose not to copy, and man do I love those juicy fat markers. But in defense of modern Seiko, the Arnie reissues were a great upgrade on the originals, and the Quartz Tunas still look fabulous. Yes, absolutely, I agree on both points. I think we'll also see a new Pogue at some point. I'm not live. I'm not making. Sorry, I read this and I wasn't directing any derision at you. My brain flashed up the instant sort of concept of what modern Seiko would call a Pogue these days. It's probably going to be anything like that. It's going to have a mechanic quartz. It's going to have a mechanic quartz movement. I bet you anything. Or if it'll be relatively inexpensive. It'll have mechanic quartz, and it'll be kind of correct. It'll be a lot like the reissues of like the Bishop and the Ripley and all that other stuff. The reissues of the 7828s, they used a different quartz module, so from a distance they looked correct, but actually their functions were totally different. Well, not totally different. Their functions were, it didn't have a 1/10 second register, which for me is just like really annoying. But so anyway, if they come up with a new Pogue, if they were going to do it where they actually did one of their, the mechanical chronograph movements they make now, which is a module that bolts onto the front of a 7000 series movement. So it's kind of like the Omega Mark 40 movement, which is, you know, they have a 3-hand movement and they bolt a module on the top that is the chronograph. And if they did that, it would be the usual thing, like the 50th reissues or 55th reissues for the Panda, and they put out a 3 register instead of a 2, you know, but that kind of stuff. So it would be kind of Pogue like, but it won't be anything close to it. And if they did that with the movement, I'm sure it would be limited edition, and it would be insanely expensive, and there would be a Singapore only version, save the meerkats or something. The Quartz Tunas, you just can't go wrong with the Quartz Tunas. Seiko's Quartz Tuna. Oh well, mine's right here. I'm moving stuff around. I cleared this out because there were a bunch of holes in this wall from before we moved in. There was an old phone thing here, and I have these beautiful set of mahogany shelves. Well, I call them beautiful. I built them, but I like them. But they're my watch shelves, and I'm thinking about having my watch stuff here. I'm trying to decide on that. But anyway, Seiko's Tunas. They're such great designs. The balance of them is just, they were so unique. And like the 6105s, there was nothing like them at the time. I don't know. Maybe I'll take a break and show them to you. Oh, before I do that, the final line was, knowing Seiko, it's sure to disappoint, like the new speed timers that don't resemble their 60s, 70s counterparts in the slightest. Moan over. Best to you and yours, Spencer, and best to you, Mr. Whitworth. Yeah, you know, those speed timers were so I looked at those and I was so okay then. I didn't, I forgot they even existed. But I've been forgetting a lot of stuff recently. I can't remember names. It's really weird. It's over the course of this spring, it's like the middle of my brain got kicked by leprechauns or something, and it's just, my memory centers are just, all of a sudden, they're just not there. Yeah, it's ridiculous being this old and having to do all this stupid stuff. In the old days, we were just miserable all the time. What was wrong with that? Let's see. Oh, right, we have to stop. I'm going to show you the tunas. Yeah, the Quartz Tunas, especially this baby, the OG. 7549 7010, the first of the first. And it's just a perfect design. It's a perfect design. I don't look at this watch quite as often as I should, especially considering how much work I put into creating it, but whenever I do, I'm like, good God, this thing's awesome. I think the one thing is that sometimes I get tired of wearing a rubber strap. Sometimes I wish I had a bracelet for this, but all the bracelets that I could ever find, they're too heavy. Yeah, what a beautiful, perfect watch. And I mean, you think about it, for the time, this was utterly groundbreaking. They're the only people, Seiko was the only people that had this instantly recognizable style and such quality. They were one of the few things in the 70s that I can genuinely say were the best possible quality. Everything else in the 70s, garbage. Well, not really, but they really, really, really got these things done. This one isn't running because I had it. This one's an automatic now. That's a long story. I built this thing out of parts, literally out of parts. I didn't cannibalize a watch. I didn't do anything like that. As good parts came in, original parts, I wasn't planning it. They just came together. I had everything except a movement. I was like, well, screw it. And I found all the components necessary to convert to the larger 7549 calendar wheels. And I put it together. There's my golden tuna. That's a watch. Funny thing about these is there's literally no difference between these and the earlier 6159s that seem gigantic, only because there's a shoulder that comes down. It almost makes it kind of like a helmet shroud, kind of like a helmet thing. That's the only thing that's different. Other than that, the cases are identical. You could swap the movements back and forth if you felt like it. Wow, that's a beautiful watch. That's the thing, baby. Whew, that's a nice watch. I ought to wear this more. I really should wear all my stuff more. That's it, man. This is 2 questions from a poster, VB. Oh, speaking of when Adventures in Amateur Watchfettling, which is Martin. And I sang his praises 2 weeks ago. And I do love his stuff. I mean, people say to me, oh, you know, all this great knowledge that you've got and that you're willing to share with people. And I'm happy to do it. I'm glad anybody appreciates it, considering for the tiny little amount of effort I put into making a polished, finished project. Martin's stuff is, he's what I sincerely aspire to be professionally. If I could be that organized and that clean and organized, man, I love going to his site. It's not only is there so much information there, but it's just so pleasant. It's so pleasant. It's so nice to have everything so laid out so clearly, and all the photographs can be clicked on, and the details are huge. And his write-ups are not overly verbose. They're quite clear. They're not filled with jargon, and if he uses jargon, he will typically explain it for the layman. It's just, and also what I love the most is just his, at least from the outside, this just unceasingly consistent feeling of sort of, you know, kindness and humility, and sort of, you know, just a pleasant person who's interested in neat things. And it just, you know, I think it's great. It's more about the watches than the man. And I wish that's what I used to be until I got sucked into this thing. But it really is, it's about the watches. And I greatly admire his work and how he does it and his honesty. Just everything about it, I approve of. Anyway, so VB says, Martin has saved me on numerous occasions and I'm ticketed you gave him his dues. However, you missed something. He is very active in the comments, and anytime I've asked for clarification, he chimes in. No, he's talked to me too. He's an invaluable resource for Seiko collectors and restorers. I'm curious about... okay, so he just want to talk about Martin there. Now the actual question. I am curious about service marks. Sometimes I see stamps. Often I can't discern a date. Or 52 or 50 something that shows up sometimes. Numbers that couldn't possibly be a date. What's your convention and are there standards? Anyhow, one of my favorite experiences is opening a case back and seeing service marks. Yeah, I love looking at service marks. They're usually kind of a mystery to me. Sometimes they're pretty clear to understand what they mean. When something is pretty much clearly like a date. Especially if I see a series of servicing marks that have dates and they're all down in the same hand. That's definitely something that I see. A lot of the times you'll see numbers and it will be their you know, it'll be their identifying number for, you know, their certifications, their CMW or their MW or whatever. And I see that sometimes. Before I started doing this work, I wondered, I'm like, were there codes like, you know, really in depth? Like, did the codes in the back, like, did it break down and tell you what everything you did, like what all the parts were that got done? And this was a long time ago. And I talked to actually 2 different old watch guys. The old local guy who was here in town, and then down at Rocky Mountain Time Zone in Boulder, another great guy. And in both cases, Rocky Mountain Time Zone, he said, I don't pay any attention to them. And I was like, really? You're not even slightly curious? I was like, there's no information there that I need. It's not going to help me do anything. Most of the time, I don't know what the marks mean. And they don't really have any relevance to the current condition of the watch right now. He's a real straightforward dude. He wants to fix watches and get the watches back to the people, and that's his deal. I'm more interested in history. But, you know, I talked to the local guy here. I have almost all of his watch material is here now. And he said more or less the same thing. He didn't really pay attention to it. His marks were very simple. It was just his initials basically, and the date. He didn't need a whole lot. From what I've seen, consistency in marks, the only source I've ever been able to get enough watches from to see how their marks work out is Seiko. So I've seen a lot of Seiko service marks, and they are clearly, they had a system and they adhered to it. Now, you know, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, the round stamp, and it's got two lines. It's a circle with two lines, and then it has, it'll say SII on the top, and then it'll say, it'll have identifying information basically, and then date, but it'll tell you if it was California, it'll tell you if it was New York or whatever the heck it was. And again, that's only for internal stuff. I guess the most use of it for me, I always look at them because I think they're cool. I like to know if the service marks indicate that somebody really enjoyed their watch and really made a point of getting it serviced, and they took it to watch people who signed their watches in the old way. I don't know. I don't really know what their marks are. My marks, servicing marks. I do what old school watchsmiths do, which is my marks are just as tiny as I can make them. I don't want to scrawl over the inside of the case back. I see that sometimes. It's really annoying, but I've seen that where it's like big honking initials on the inside of the case back. You don't need to do that. So my mark, you know, also a mark of pride that I can write legibly that small, especially on metal with a scribe tip. But I can, but it's very small. And the only information that I'm saying to me that I'm me, and I have basically the date when it was done in my own form. And so it means something to me. If a watch comes back to me, it'll tell me a lot. It'll give me the beginnings of good information. It'll shorten my hunt. For other watches, I just think it's a neat form of history. It's like I don't know, you're looking at the footsteps of, you know, people who've been before you, and they left little traces. It's kind of like anthropology. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like history. I think those things are interesting. It is fun to see. Yeah, because you can tell you get a watch that like old school dudes have gone through when you look and there's like a number of different signatures inside the case back, and they're all just tiny and perfectly legible. A lot of times you can actually see that they're writing in their own handwriting. They've done it for so long, so often, they are able to scribe on the inside of a watch in their own handwriting, which I think is cool. My handwriting is terrible, so I do everything in block. Yeah, anyway, I agree with you. I love seeing servicing marks. One of the first things I look for when I open it. I think it is the first thing I look for. No, first thing I look for is rust in the movement. Then I look in the inside of the case back. Okay, next question. Talking time with Buford T. Shylock. Well, that's an extremely unique name. Mr. Buford T. Shylock seems like the kind of person who would own bloodhounds. Coonhounds, maybe. I don't know. Any case, could you show how to tell a fake 7002 dial from a real one? Yeah, I mean, I have before, but I can do it again. I'll pull out a couple, and you can see them. It's very simple. It's real simple. There isn't a 7002 dial on the planet that I have ever seen that has the right lume. They all have this weird, like, pistachio green lume. Not only that, the fonts are always slightly wrong and kind of blobby, but the lume, they never get the lume right. And for the 7002s, it's a very specific lume. I have no idea how anybody would replicate it. Those dials, those 7002 dials, there were two variations. The one that most people see is where Seiko is playing with a new kind of lume, Promethium 3. The thing, though, is that it basically the lume broke down pretty quickly, like within a few years, and it went from being, you know, like white lume, and it just turned gray. It wasn't damaged in any other way, though, so the lume is still perfectly flat. You can see the linen pattern of when it was printed on the dial, and that, I mean, that's almost like it's almost like a security feature, that linen print. I don't know of any way to. There'd be no way to fake it. There's no way to fake it. None. And I've never seen a 7002 dial that had the correct loom. There's other 7002 dials. They're what I call the tan loom dials. Those, I mean, it's harder. You just gotta, the big thing is if you see a watch and you suspect that there's something, that it might be off, like the dial might be off, the big thing to look for is get like the printed texts, like the subtext on the bottom of the dial, or like where it says automatic, or the shape of the Daini or the Sua logo, and you get that real big so you can see it, you know, and then you compare it to the real thing. You go out and find the real thing, and you look, and because when you're far away from it down, it looks pretty good. You get close to it, and you start seeing stuff that's not supposed to be there. You see kerning problems, which is where the spacing between the letters is wrong. Because it's not even from letter to letter to letter. Certain letters have to be closer, and if you give them all the same distance between them, it sort of looks like that there's a font error. They're not as precise as you would imagine. Seiko, even with the 7002s, there was no difference. Their dial printing was right on target. In those days, they did it well. And so you see something that's sloppy and blobby and weird looking, that's suspect. Now, I have seen Seiko could have some variation in the sort of the strength and the depth of printing, and so you might get, say, a stronger imprint or a lighter imprint, but it'll be consistent. Whatever it is, the whole dial will look in the same way. And if you look, but at two dials that have slightly different printings, you'll see that the bones are the same. I mean, I can see it. I don't know how to really describe it. As you look for the things that are out of place. I scan back and forth, and after all, you start to see the stuff that's not supposed to be there, or you don't see the stuff that should be there. Yeah, I mean, so I can tell you, but that's the thing. If it has green loom, nobody can reloom them because nobody can screen print that flat. Nobody has that I've ever seen. Nobody's printing in gray. That linen pattern, like I said, anybody who could do that. Any manual relooming on any 7002 I've ever done or seen, or even seen pictures of, I never remember seeing a 7002 reloom that would have fooled anybody. You can reloom them, but it'll never look stock Seiko ever again. So I don't know. Hopefully that's a helpful answer. Okay, so this comment is about the 7016 Monaco. Michael Matera. I own the same 7016, and I wear it on a perforated rally type brown and natural. My vote for yours is the blue or the natural. Surprised how nice the blue looks with that model. Doesn't that look nice, actually? Because it ties the blue dial together, and then the white of the chronograph hands kind of really pops. And it pulls at the blue of the subdial, which I like. In any case, I may have to give blue a try on mine. Oh, do please let me know how you like it. Also, I noticed that you referred to this as a Monaco. I've always thought that the name for the other case shape was of the 7016-5011. I've heard your case shape being referred to as the Nautilus. Either way, both are great looking watches. This like whole like we're gonna name every model thing, from my perspective, that's pretty new. I mean, it was always happening, but it was like the watch had to be really special. There had to be something really unique about it for it to gain a nickname, and the nickname had to work. And that's like Peter Horn when he named the Stargate. I mean, he said the name, and that's a perfect name for it, and it stuck like glue, just like that. I've never heard Nautilus before. That doesn't mean anything. The world changes. I mean, I have not been heavily active in online watch collecting circles like at all. So there's bound to have been some changes. I've never heard it referred to as an Nautilus. I've only ever heard them referred to as Monaco, and I've seen both models referred to as Monaco, but if that is changed, that's fine. Just let me know about it. I do know that there was a very recent article, God, was it GQ or something? talking about, oh, watch guys, the next great thing is the Seiko Monaco, and it was the other one, 7016501X. And I was thinking, I was looking at those, I'm like, that's a cool watch. I have the bracelet for one of those watches, but I don't have the actual watch. It's kind of annoying, actually. And I keep thinking about picking them up. But anyway, if you have one of those watches, those original, what now apparently is only called the Monaco, that particular one, they're about to go up in value like stupid amounts of money. And I have no doubt that going forward, this division between Monaco and Nautilus will have been codified, and that'll be the way that it is. Why would they call it Nautilus? There's nothing Nautilus-y about it. It doesn't have the golden mean in it. Doesn't it's not a spiral. Nautiluses don't tend to be rectangular. I don't know who would have come up with the Nautilus name. You see, people are coming up with a lot of names for stuff, and I'm like, how are you going to tell people, how are you going to communicate to people this name and have it stick and have it be in any way helpful to picture the watch? I don't know, whatever. I mean, it doesn't bug me. Who cares? Name it whatever you want to. I'll come up with my own 1,000-meter deep-sea diver, and I'll call it the Daffodil, because it doesn't matter. Though, you know, if you had a big, like, 1,000-meter resistance, like, helium-filled, like, crazy dive watch tuna derivative, and you called it, you know, the Dandelion, the Buttercup, that would be the disconnection between the two things. Might be enough to fix it in someone's head, especially if the watch had no yellow on it at all. In fact, nothing to refer to the original at all. Like calling a garden snail a Smurf. Like there's nothing, no commonality between the two things. I think that'd be funny. Okay, DMITS22, going back to talking about the 6105, which is here. Do not change that insert, Spencer. I agree. And actually, this post actually kind of tipped me over a little bit, because I was going back and forth. Because the dial on that watch, despite the Re-Loom, it's a good dial. It's nice. It's a very nice dial surface. And I felt that the insert in some ways made that harder to see. Like there was a condition mismatch. Any case, do not change that insert, Spencer. Without that beautifully worn one, it's just a freaking 6105 like all the others. I've owned a lot of pretty generic 6105s. That one's awesome. Okay. And the water thing you should get over. He's talking about water resistance. I don't get my watches near any water unless they're brand new and they're replaceable. In over 60 years, the only water flooding I've had was on a Rolex sub, and also a Speedmaster that had sapphire crystal. Both times I was too close to coral, and the currents pushed me into them and smashed the crystals. Happened 30 years ago too with a 7T32 that had Saflex, but the Saflex stayed together. Isn't that interesting? So Seiko's Saflex lived, but Rolex and Omega Sapphire didn't. Man, I just want
second pick, Bobby.
That was a lot of tumult and wrestling for figuring out who's supposed to get first pick of the cookies. There's a lot of heated rhetoric going on upstairs when it comes to dessert. Because for some reason, the two youngest ones, they're always trying to race each other for everything. Like, who's going to finish their dinner faster? Even though we're like, stop trying to choke your food down. Who's going to get out the front door sooner? Who's going to get their shoes on first? And I can't get a straight answer of either one about why they care. Whatever. Let's see. God, man, yeah, coral. I don't know. I'm proud of the Saflex, though. I'm glad it lived. Whatever happened? So what happened with your Speedmaster and your Rolex? Where are they? The ones that got destroyed and flooded, where are they? Do you have them? Are they sitting in a box somewhere? Sitting in the back of a drawer, maybe, are they? Back of a sock drawer, perhaps? A little sandwich bag filled with a Rolex and an Omega Seamaster that had unfortunate accidents. And they're just sitting there, waiting for love, sitting there in the dark, wishing they could run, but knowing they can't because of the damage. But there's still hope. Do you still have those watches? If you still have those watches, you might want to, I don't know, let me know. Let me know. You remember I brought back my grandfather's Rolex Explorer, and that thing was destroyed. Okay, this is our last. This is Watch Me Draw. So this is talking more about like he and I have been talking about ADHD and some different things. There are some people, pardon me. There are some people who sort of suffer from kind of the same things that I do, or similar things, or people who just put up with chronic conditions, and and so people write me, and I like to respond, and we talk sometimes because there isn't a lot of support in the world. Everybody, especially the way things work now, everybody's alone. Well, not alone, but I mean, we're disconnected far more from our fellow people or neighbors. So it's nice to speak to anybody. And so I talk to people about these things. I am similar to you when it comes to note taking. Find something to write on, or pulling out the phone to open an app to write the note down, then knowing you will have to re-find that note when it's needed again. Too much wasted time and energy. When I was in school, the process of writing it down, it seemed, would help me remember it, but it was quite the opposite. Same for me. While stumbling around trying to write down everything as the notes were being verbally thrown at me, retention came without the pencil in my hand. I instead began drawing on the back of the at the back of the class while the teacher lectured, and I retained what was told to me. We're all different. Reading things generally for me, it makes things. It depends how technical it is. There's one book I was reading that was basically sort of an order of battle history of the Battle of the. There was not the Battle of the Bulge in World War II. Below that, in the Vosges Mountains, between like France and Germany, all that kind of stuff. There was a campaign, and I have some things from a soldier who fought and died in that campaign, and so I've been trying to learn more about that battle and see if I can trace any more stuff about where this person would have come from. But it's super technical and it's packed with jargon. I'm deeply interested in the subject, but even with that, I have to go through a sentence very carefully and track everything to try to slot everything into my brain. And it's tough, and I'm definitely deeply invested in learning more about it, and it's hard. But hearing stuff, oh yeah, if somebody tells me things or describes things to me, that's great. The best is showing me. Show me one time, I'll never ask you again. I see it once, and it's there. So we're all different. You just got to figure it out. Well, folks, that was Mail Call. It is, it's 7:41. I know that's going to make Astronomy Netherlands jump out of his skin. I don't have a 24-hour watch here. I'm an American. What do you want from me? I don't have military time in my head. I know that 10 o'clock is 2,200 hours. That's all I know. And last but not least, I had a question from Shadow Golem. This is about ammonites. Everything from here out is going to be an ammonite. Shadow Golem, what tumbler do you have? You might try reaching out to your local rock and mineral club. They often have a shop with equipment you can learn to use and rent time on cheap. Rock polishing is very messy work, but quite rewarding. I did not know that. That is awesome information. It didn't even occur to me that such a thing would happen. Anyway, since we're talking about these, there was a pile of gravel I dug out. I literally, underneath snow and some stuff, and I put it in a pot because Sabrina needed something to plant a houseplant in. And so these things sat in the pot and just, I guess, got rained on and snowed on, and it sort of cleaned them off. There were a ton in there, but these were the ones I liked the most. I mean, it's so tantalizing. You see the different stuff on here. This is, there's your middle right there. See, it goes boop, and it curls around. You can go around like that, and it keeps rolling. You can see it curve over like so. Look at that. There's some open chambers here too. There's a big center right there. It's interesting because it's sort of this greenish serpentine material. There's traces all through this. My fingers are because I've been handling rocks. But look at the change. Look at the traces that are still in here. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, spinning the wrong way. I mean, it's just nuts, the amount of stuff that's here. And this is just driveway gravel, like, literally. Look at this one, look. Look at the curl, look at this. Okay, look at that center, and look right here. Looks like a shrimp. I mean, it looks like a shrimp's tail. Different color, but I mean, it looks so crazy organic. This structure is on the inside of one of the chambers. I've seen it more than a few times. And again, this is just a piece of driveway gravel, and it's only been cleaned by being left out in the sun for a bunch. I don't know what that is. Again, you see the circles, middle, circle, circle. Another nice, I mean, look at that. Look at that. It's crazy, and it literally just driveway gravel. And this, all of my gravel is like this. Every single last piece. Infinite varieties, different kinds of stones. But these shapes inside the stones do not change. There they are. There it goes, and it curls around right there. You can see another one right here. You can see it flipping around with the light and dark sections, the divisions between the chambers. Right there. It goes around like so. Yeah. You got to take them and turn them and turn them and turn them until you see the circles. I mean, but it's like sort of eerily organic sometimes. Let me turn this light off and see if I can get another, like, more shadow on it. That doesn't make anything any better. Let's try it like this. Well, there's a middle, and it turns around again, and this curls up like so. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, doesn't that look, I mean, if you look at it, you sit there and you let your eyes look at it, it starts looking sort of unpleasantly organic, because it is. But yeah, sometimes I'm looking at these things and I'm really looking at them, and I become acutely aware that I'm literally holding something that if I was holding it in real life would just give me the willies. Look at this. Look at this right here. See the divisions? You got the center line, and the divisions between the chambers here. And this material in here, in between, it's going to be semi-translucent. If I polish this, you'd have this structure just floating in space. Yeah, look at that one. Look at that. Yep, just gravel, ordinary gravel. It happens to be made of nasty old squishy things. Wow, yeah, look at that. We probably already looked at this. We're just getting a better light on it now. Yeah, you see, if you turn it like this, you look for the circles. and it tells you where they are. Big one right there, another one right there. But anyway, I don't have a rock tumbler. I don't have a stone cutter. I haven't done anything really yet, but I need to. I desperately, desperately want to start working on this stuff. And I'd love to talk to somebody who knows more. Maybe I could tell somebody about my discovery here and somebody might actually be impressed. Okay. All right, cool. There you go. There's your ammonite addendum. So whatever. It's late. It's late. Sun's going down. Dinner's over. Dessert's being messed with, and I think I want to clock out for the week. So folks, I thank you so much for watching. I really, truly thank you for watching. I sincerely appreciate it. This last spring has been really tough, and some days are fine. Some days are not fine. I've had some remarkably bad weeks, and so I'm a ferocious critic of my own output. And sometimes if I'm really not feeling good, I can't wrap my head around the idea of trying to produce any content for general consumption, because I can't imagine. It seems impossible that I would put out a product worth watching, investing your time in. So I have to just press forward and do my things my way, do my things my way. I have to do it my way because I don't have any other option. And I have to either push forward and embrace it. I can't pretend to be somebody I'm not. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm making my videos and doing my stuff, and people who like it will watch it, and people who don't won't. Madam has come delivering cookies. So who got second pick?
I think Willow.
So
no, wait, Sebastian?
Did he get second pick? Because that's what he was agitating for.
No, it was Willow. I don't know. He was like, fine.
Oh, so he gave it up? It wasn't taken away from him?
No, I just was like, that's my cookie.
There's 5 people. There's 5 weekdays. Can't we just rotate? Oh wait, that's another system that with the ADHD we would never.
Nope.
We would never adhere to.
And he's so crazy about being first, and I'm always first. I give them everything. I should be able to get the best cookie.
Yeah, I think about that too. All right, folks, that's about it. So in any case, I thank you again very much for watching. I love questions. Please ask your questions. I'm working to be as consistent as possible, and I really do like, being able to ask different stuff and give different answers and play around with some things. So thanks, folks. Glory to Ukraine.